was saved. Okay? So I was raised by my mother, who brought me up in holiness and in the admonition of the Lord. And salvation was not a choice in our home. Yeah, so you had to love God.
My son is over there, Brian, so he knows. Okay.
So it was not a choice. You had to commit yourself to the Lord. And I did. And so...
What, under duress? Okay.
Mama's statement was, as long as you're in Jehovah's house and you eat Jehovah's bread, you got to abide by Jehovah's rules. So,
how long did that last with you?
You know,
until you were, what, 13?
Yeah, I always did, though. You know, I received the Lord at 8, and a couple of years later, I got baptized in the Holy Ghost. When I began to speak in other tongues, the Spirit of the Lord gave utterance. And the Lord just got a hold of my life in a very strong way. I committed myself to Him at a young age. And the prophetic in my life happened, may I say, maybe by accident. I can't say that I had so many visitations or certain things, but the prophetic happened in my life. I would just say things, and they would come to pass.
Now, give an example of that when you were young.
Yeah, one of the first things was this lady was next to me at church, and I just looked at her. Her name was Sister Wanda. And I said, Sister Wanda, just a little kid in church, I said, Lord said He's going to bless you tomorrow with $800, right? So she looked at me crazy. And the next day, out of nowhere, she went to her job and they gave her a check for $800.
So she came and told you?
Came back and told me.
Did she tell your mother?
It told my mom too, you know, so it blew my mind too, you know. And I studied music in school, and I played the trombone. So I was first chair all district, first chair all state band. I always did well in music. I played in jazz bands and played the keyboard and all that kind of stuff. So we were preparing for a trip to New York, and we was in a grocery store, and the lady was being very mean to my mother. And I looked at my mom, I said, Mom, don't worry about it. I said, God gonna make them, God got a ridiculous blessing on the way for you. Just a ridiculous blessing. That was the word I heard for her. And she said, you're right, I received that. And long story short, you know, she's a single parent home, we struggled, but maybe a week or two later, I was preparing to go to New York with the band, and my mother used to handle some kind of machine for the chorus, because I sung in the chorus too. And the director said, are you going? She said, no, I can't afford it. He said, well, we're going to pay for your trip. You ain't going to have to pay for nothing. That was a ridiculous blessing. So I just gave myself, I tell people, whatever fivefold ministry gift you yield yourself to is the one that operates in your life. So I yielded myself toward the prophetic. I really desired it.
How old were you about that time when you started to
I'm in the fifth grade, maybe middle school. And I just began to yield myself to it and really shut in for days and just really seeking the Lord. I yielded myself to the prophetic and allowed God to really have His way in my life. I didn't ask for the prophetic, I just asked for Him. And the more I gave myself to Him, you know, He said the secrets of the Lord are with those that fear Him. So as I gave myself to Him, you know, the longer you hang out with somebody, the more information they share with you about Him.
That's right.
So I just hung out with Jesus, and He began to share with me secrets and things that I never imagined. So that's the story of my life.
Okay, so, no, it's not really. Okay, so we go from middle school. So how did you get into ministry?
Well,
how did that happen? And the connection with Pastor Benny as well.
Okay, so I started, well, I'm a fast forward because I was starting praying for people in homes and beauty salons and everywhere anybody would let me preach. I wanted to preach. I was a young boy just happy to preach. And I just committed myself to Him. You know, I was talking to somebody last night, and you know, he said to me, God tests us based on what we do in the silent years, when nobody's watching us, when nobody sees us, you know. And so God took me through all of that to teach me the humility piece that I noticed that most preachers don't have.
But what do you mean by that then?
You know,
how would you define humility then?
Well, you know, meekness, power under control. You know, Jesus said, take my yoke and learn of me. I'm meek and I'm lowly. You know, we can't mean nothing. It's not about us. It's not about our ministries, our reputations, our money, our job.
Especially our reputations.
It's all about Him. And so God has a way. You know, the Lord said to me that pride